Hey, good morning. We're here at Rutabaga Paddle Sports this morning to go over the new native Slayer 12.5 Max. This is a new boat for native watercraft in 2020. Kind of takes a lot of the design aspects and cues we've been coming up with over the years for our Slayer series and our Titan series, combines them all together, and what we came up with is kind of our new flagship moving forward. So today I'm going to walk you through some of the features, some of the angler benefits, basically everything you wanted to know about this boat. Or you can always call these guys here at the shop and ask questions. They're more than willing to help you out. But hopefully this helps you get an idea of what you're looking at and why you might want to come out and try out this boat this year and pick one up for yourself. So starting overall 12.5 feet long. Boat weighs in at just over 90 pounds. Pretty manageable in today's day and age of heavier fishing kayaks. They're manageable into the back of trucks with the use of wheels or trailers, but certainly nothing one person can't handle and get to the water given the right situations. We got width on this guy, 34 inches. Plenty wide for you to stand up, sight cast out of, manage to get back into your gear in the stern of the boat. Really, a super stable, super fast, super easy to pedal boat. The big story for 2020 across all of our lines, and I'll just deviate away from the Slayer 12 Max here to go over our 701 Propel series. So all of our Propel series are numbered, 501, 601, 701 being the newest version, and we've made a couple of great upgrades to this drive for 2020. Starting off right here where the rubber meets the road per se, at the foot pedals, new foot pedals for 2020. This is more of a mountain bike style pedal. There is a set of studs you can install into the pedal for more grip in wet or slippery conditions, but for most people they aren't going to require that, but it is there for you to do. New crank arms, not too much difference here, just a slightly different shape and size, but different from 2019. Lastly is the integrated weed guard that's installed and manufactured right into the rear bottom cartridge. This is a feature that was, or a part that was made aftermarket by some folks outside of native watercraft for years. Everybody really loved it. We just decided to integrate it now into our, right into the unit. So it'll come standard on all 2020 Propel models. Getting back to the Slayer 12 Propel Max. Starting at the bow, we'll just go from front to back. New bow and stern handles on these, very similar to what we've been doing on our Titan series. There's a foam cover over top of an accessory track. So should you want to use anything or attach anything off the bow using a standard size accessory track that'll accept a lot of the different T-nuts on the market, it's there for you to use. So starting off there, as we move back, we're going to see our new bow hatch. This opens up, hinges from the cockpit very easily from the paddler's position. Gives you a small storage tray in the boat that is removable, and then also gives you in-boat storage and mostly dry storage, we like to say, for anything that needs to stay out of the elements. Good spot if you are doing any camping or anything to put your gear that has to stay dry and protected and you aren't going to get to during the day. On top here, any necessary items you might want to keep sheltered, but somewhat accessible. New battery pod here, an electronics compartment. This will hold most of your standard lithium batteries, even some of the smaller lead cell batteries. In the bottom is a small recess for running a transducer cable or an electronics cable into the hull and back to our new electronics pod in the back here, and that's basically just a removable plastic plate that you can move, that you can take off, run your wiring through, install any switches, through hull wiring fittings, anything you would need to do electronics with, or install electronics that you could operate from the cockpit. Close up the hatch here. There are 2 locking clips that secure it down. The same style clips we use on the Propel drive. There is an overloading bungee, so if you have additional gear that needs to go on top, anything that needs to stow on top of the bow deck can be secured underneath these bungees, which are also adjustable, removable. If you don't like them, you don't have to keep them there. They'll come right off. Along both sides of the bow are rod louvers, basically for down rod storage. You can lay your rods flat here, not have them exposed to any tree branches, anything hanging up above you, and then secure them in the 2 handle holders or handle parks in the stern. These are also adjustable for different length rods, or for just how you want them positioned. So everything can be slid and moved along the tracks, so you can secure it for yourself. Moving back, we use the same bar and system now in every single boat in the same recess. So if you do have other boats from us that you wanted to use your new 701 drive in, as long as it takes the original this size bar mount, you can switch it back and forth and use them with our other boats. Everything is the same. So let's just move this out of the way quick. Inside the cockpit, you have our standard Propel cover, cup holder, accessory tray. Nothing new there. 2 scupper holes just underneath your feet, with scupper plugs installed. Our big scuppers that drain the boat really fast and are easy to pull in and out from the seat or with just your hands. Going back to here, we've got a couple of bungee secure spots if you do want to put a rod here, temporarily hanging off the front, or half a paddle or your entire paddle on the opposite side of the rudder controls. You can do that. So again, just a couple other bits and pieces that you can secure rods, paddles, anything to. Moving back to our seats, so the Slayer 12.5 Max as well as our Titan series all have an adjustable height seat for pedaling. So you can pedal from a low position or you can pedal from a high raised position. I would say 90% of people enjoy the high position the most. And this boat's currently in the low position. We're just going to show you how it pops up here quick. There's just 2 threaded taps in the seat base, and then 2 bungee hooks in the stern. Boom. And there's just 2 threaded brass taps in the seat base that you screw this seat back into. And just be careful when you're putting these in that they line up first, so you're not cross-threading anything or doing anything weird. Take your time. Doesn't take much. There. Now we are in the raised position, which also gives you a bunch of storage underneath the seat. So tackle boxes, maybe a small lunch or something that you want accessible, drinks, etc. There are a couple of cup holders we'll see later, but nice storage area underneath here to keep stuff out of the bilge water, but easily accessible from the cockpit area of the boat. On this side of the seat well, you'll have a slot for a tackle box to actually slide into and be accessible on your left side to just pull and put onto your lap. If I walk around here, on the right-hand side, you'll see 3 recesses, pliers, snips, and or bigger pliers or fish grips, lip grips. There's 2 milled hoops right here that you can also secure lines to, or leashes then, for all your tools. So if you do happen to drop them off, you've got somewhere to anchor those to and just lift them up and pull them back in. Along the right-hand side of the seat in the cockpit, you'll have your cup holder, just behind a forward-facing rod holder. If you're familiar with our older Titan series, we actually had both combined in one. That was completely unacceptable because you couldn't have a fishing rod and a beverage at the same time. So we've upgraded that, made it nice, worked really nice. The other thing underneath these slots, and I failed to mention this from the other side, but you'll see, if you do, this is also tackle storage along this interior recessed kind of storage area. Moving to the back, you'll notice 2 handles amidships. This is for those, if you do really want to, go up to the top of your car and do a lift, you can do it from these 2 handles. They're pretty well balanced right towards the center of the boat, but it also makes for a great team handle on the sides. Or for you to install, if you're putting on a cart, you just lift it up there. All of our rails can be used as handles. So you can lift here and here. On the opposite side, there's lots of points to grab this boat, to get it into your car, into your truck, onto your trailer, into the water, install your wheels, install your cart, whatever it happens to be. Where you see foam is where we're intending you to grab or set your arms or feet. So it's a good thing to remember. Likewise, this is the other down rod holder for this side that lines up with the louver in front. You've got 2 recessed rear-facing rod holders that will angle your rod at about a 40-degree angle, 45-degree angle off the back, just for storage, staging, that kind of thing. As we get to the back, you'll notice a couple things. Another set of scuppers in the stern hatch well to keep your gear dry so that your tackle boxes aren't sitting in the bilge water all the time. There's also several kind of recesses through the back, or slight ridges, that will allow, when you do have crates or hard shell stuff that isn't dipping into those, it'll allow water to flow freely underneath it. And just again, kind of try and keep things dry, or at least let some airflow underneath it if it did get wet. In the stern here is the rudder control, is where the rudder is mounted. If you receive the boat and this hasn't been installed, you'll see how it all operates, but the rudder just inserts from the bottom. There's a top screw. It's just a number 2 Phillips head stainless screw right here. You'll see several of them. It's the largest one that installs it. As you put that in, tighten that down, and as you tighten this screw, it'll control the tension of your steering. So you can tighten and loosen this center screw to reduce or increase the snugness of the steering, or how responsive it is. Along the left-hand side of the cockpit here is the steering arm. It's specifically pretty tight right now, so if I wanted to loosen that up, I could loosen up that screw and loosen it quite a bit. It is conveniently located. Most people who are there offhand is their left. You don't have the option of switching it to the right. This is one of those situations where you just kind of have to learn to do it this way. At the stern, again, one small access hatch next to the rudder, where the rudder is installed. Basically, this gives you access to not only do any maintenance if you but also to give you access to install anything in these rear rail areas, and give you a hand in there to secure a bolt to the back of a nut, or a nut to the back of a bolt. There is a little drop bag, keep stuff from floating around in there. So if you do want to put any things to stay mostly dry in there, you can. Not very accessible from the cockpit though. 2 stern handles as well, so to make that lift up onto the back of the trailer or into the back of your truck much easier. You got a nice firm place to grip back here and lift. We've got 2 threaded taps in the back, and then also the track mount here, which will accept a mini power pole and many new rear mount motor mounts that are on the market, aftermarket, that use this 4-hole pattern to bolt on. So it's all there. This happens to be our limited edition 2020 version, which has the extra padding on the top rails, the front deck, and all around with the black and yellow accents. Standard versions will just have the seat pads, or the foot pads, the pads underneath the seat and in the rear. But not quite as much padding on the standard version as you'll see on our, if you look at it on our website, you'll see how the standard one sets up different, but it's really just a matter of these pads and accents on it. If we go underneath the boat, one thing we can't see right now, but is located, and we'll show you in the video, is a small electronics transducer mount that's recessed up underneath the hull. It does allow you to mount various types of transducers down there, and still gives you enough adjustment that you can hang it low enough for side imaging. That has been a concern about some users, is whether or not my side imaging transducer can hang low enough that the boat's not interfering it because of that recess. Rest assured, you can do it. There's a lot of different options for mounting transducers, all of which are open to you on this boat. You can do the underhull, you could do a through hull shot in the bow hatch. You could do a hangover where you're using a side mount, or we've even seen some of the guys on our native watercraft Propel owners group will mount their transducers here. So just depends on the size and everything, but there's a lot of different options there, a lot of different forums out there and that allow you to kind of see how all that is done. And we can certainly give you a hand here at Rutabaga, walking you through some of those questions as well. There is a drain plug in the seat. If you're wondering why there's a hole in the seat with a little threaded plug, it is to drain any water if it does get any water inside the seat pan itself. The entire seat pan will remove. There are 2 screws, 2 hand wheels that loosen underneath the seat here and do allow you to pull this entire center unit out should you need to remove it for transportation, car topping, stacking 2 boats on top of each other, etc. And then the seat does ride on it's about a 15-inch rail that gives you your adjustment fore and aft for your leg length. So for your different size paddlers, you just loosen up these 2 hand wheels, slide the seat back to where you like it, tighten it back down. Very simple. And that is the Slayer 12.5 Max. Okay, stop filming.